Alright, here's a quick tutorial to get you using ForeFlight. So when you open up ForeFlight, you have this basic screen right here. This is the map screen. If you notice down here at the bottom, you have airports function, maps, plates, documents, imagery. This is for your weather. Flights, we'll discuss that here in a little bit. And then your scratch pad, and finally your more button. Here's where you get to all the settings of ForeFlight. For now, if you want to set up a basic flight, you're just going to start in the map section. So top left of the screen, you have your drop down. This is going to give you your different options for the map configurations that you can have, as well as the overlays for that map. So stuff like radar, TFRs, airmets, flight category, you can play with all of that stuff. Now the important thing to remember here is you're only going to have access to stuff like surface winds and composite radar imagery in one of two cases. Either if you have a internet connection, if you're connected to Wi-Fi, or if you're connected to the Stratus in the airplane and you have enough Stratus towers or ADS-B towers to give you weather information. Okay, so we're going to set up a basic flight. So right here we have our tail number. Now for our flight, we're going to select 1352. That's the plane I'm going to use. Now when you open up your ForeFlight for the first time, you're not going to have an aircraft selected, so you're going to have to build an aircraft. So real quick, we're going to go do that. We're going to click on our more options. We're going to go to aircraft, and we're going to go down here, and you can just tap the plus sign to add an aircraft. So there you'll add tail number and all that. I'm not going to add one. I'm just going to show you what 1352 looks like. So you can see I've got my tail number, which always starts with a Q. ForeFlight's going to want a letter in front of the tail number in order to file. So since we don't start our tail numbers with letters, a military designator is Quebec. So you're always going to start the tail numbers with Q. Now don't worry, you're not going to have to do this with every single aircraft. Once you build your basic aircraft and put in all the performance and ICAO and FAA equipment, your dinghies and stuff, you can copy that aircraft, and then all you have to do is change the tail number and serial number, and you're good to go with that new aircraft, if you want to do that. I'll show you why in a second, where it's not critically important. Okay, so we've got an aircraft built. I think that's pretty self-explanatory on how to get that built. So our aircraft is in there. Now we want to set a profile for it. Now I've got the C-130J profile, is what I called it, and you can kind of see it's your basic, airspeeds and altitudes and fuel flows you can put in there. You can make them smaller to be conservative, whatever. The third button here, this is your altitude you're going to fly your route at. Now if you have a internet connection, this will automatically populate with winds that are in your area. This one isn't populating right now because it says I'm missing departure and destination information. So we're just going to throw 3,000 feet in there, and now I'm going to build my route. So if I just wanted to do a basic route, I could type in KLRF to KFSM, and it's going to draw me my line. If I can tap on this route button right here, it'll zoom out and show me my full view of that route. Then of course you can pinch zoom to get whatever information you want there. Now I can go back to my altitude, and since I have internet connection, it's going to automatically pull up with my winds at different altitudes, as well as an estimated en route time and an estimated fuel burn. So based on fuel burn and time, like 4,500 feet, that's probably going to give us good clearance on our terrain, which we have a way to check that, because now we're going to tap on profile. We can see 4,500 feet gives us a 2,800 foot clearance, a little above 2,800 foot clearance, if we stay in a 0.5 nautical mile corridor. Now we want to make it a little bit bigger, so let's say a 20-mile corridor. It's going to give us 1,500 foot clearance at 4,500 feet. So that's actually a pretty good altitude. If I wanted, I could just tap this altitude and move it up to 9,500 feet or whatever altitude I wanted. For now, we'll just leave it at 3,600 feet. There you go. Clearance 600 feet. So notice how that starts to turn yellow, and if I move it far enough down, there you go. I have my first strike displayed at 74 miles. I'm going to hit that antenna on top of Mount Magazine. Now I can long press on the profile view, and it'll put a red dot right on that tower. So now I can see that tower on my view and realize, okay, within 20 nautical miles left or right of that point right there, I've got it. So, or that's where my tower is. Now you can also do kind of a tactical MSA is what I've kind of been calling it. Is the view right now you can see is full 110 miles from Little Rock to Fort Smith. Well, let's say we're flying along from Little Rock to Fort Smith and we get off course, let's say right here, just south of Russellville. Well, I can place 2 fingers on the map and that'll draw a, you notice that little gray box pulls up, so notice that's giving me a course and distance and time and heading and all that information. But up in the profile view, it's also giving me kind of my VVOD at 2,800 feet. And I can move this box around and see, okay, 2,800 feet is going to give me, okay, there's some towers right there. I can clearly see those in the profile view. There's a little sticks sticking up, so got 700-foot clearance on them. Well, if I go out this way any further, I'm still having good, oh, right there. So if I, looks like right here at Danville, if I move this box that way, I've definitely got some terrain in there that I have to deal with. That's a 20-mile corridor, so I can bring it down to a 1-mile corridor. And now you can kind of pinpoint where that terrain is. It looks like up there, north looks pretty good, and then yeah, a little bit further here. And sure enough, right there at Mount Magazine, half-mile within that center black line that I'm making with my, 2-finger pinch, that's where that terrain is. So I know I need to stay north of center line in that case, and that would keep me well clear, 1,000-foot clearance. If I go south, I'm only going to get 100, and, well, looks like I'm going to hit the towers right there. So that's the profile view is a very useful function. We also have a basic nav log. There's another way to get to this too, kind of a more advanced nav log, but that's showing you your total distance heading, estimated en route time, that sort of thing. Alright, but we'll go back to our edit log. Here we want to actually build a route. We're not going to fly to Fort Smith, so I'm going to just type in JWood BG Bennett. Sounds familiar, right? S32 Bravo IP 087 BJDZ Viz EP, and then back to KLRF. Okay, so I've got my real basic route done, and just like in the airplane, we want to save this sucker before we forget it, so we don't have to type in all that stuff again. So we'll hit the star button, and we can name the route. I'm just going to name our route, oh, not TED, test. Alright, route saved. Now if I hit the double star at the top, there's all my saved routes in here. So I can scroll all the way down here. That's the only thing I don't like, is it adds it at the very bottom. Let's say, you see I've got the 246 in here already loaded, so that's a saved flight I have in. That makes it real convenient because all I have to do is change the altitude. I'll leave it at 1,500 feet. And then I can go in my estimated departure time. Say I want to leave today at 1:40. And now it's going to go through, it's going to pull all the winds for 1:40 today, and it's going to give me an estimated en route time and fuel. Notice it's not doing anything in performance. It says performance. We want it to say 1352 C-130J. There you go. So there's all my particulars right there: distance, estimated en route time, estimated time of arrival, fuel, and wind. So it's calmed down at 1,500 feet is what it's telling us. Okay, so let's say we want to use this while we're out there flying. We're going to connect it to the Stratus. It's going to connect up. We're going to have our moving map function, and it'll follow us there at Little Rock. Now when we're on the ground at Little Rock, we want the taxi diagram to show up. So all you have to do is tap on Little Rock. This gives you your runway tab. Now you can just tap on this taxi diagram and it'll pull it up. Now we want to overlay this on our map. So the little box with the arrow in it, we're going to tap on that and go to map. And it automatically pulls us up, show us our location on the taxi diagram. Now we want to enable safe taxi. That's one of the things it's going to automatically pull this up when it detects that we're on the ground. So we're going to go to more and settings. We're going to scroll down here. And there we go. Show taxi on map and auto show taxi. Both of those are selected for the taxi diagram. So when we land and the Stratus detects it, it'll automatically pull up our taxi diagram. Alright, so that's on there, cool. So now we're flying around. Let's say we're doing the 246 and we're curious what our winds are down here. We can tap on Malvern. That's an airport kind of right there in the southern hook of the route, and we can tap on METAR. Oh, of course I'd pick a airfield that doesn't have a METAR. Let's try Hot Springs. You got to be careful if you're tapping and you have different overlays enabled. It may pick up that overlay. So yeah, I was thinking I'm picking on the obstacle instead of the runway. Okay, there we go. So Hot Springs pulled up the full METAR. I can see what the winds are, ceiling. That's kind of a good thing to use when you're connected inside. You can see what the ceilings are if you're thinking that the weather might be skosh for a certain low level. Now another thing good is, let's say you're transiting nearby a airfield like Hot Springs and want to know how close you get to their approach procedures. You know, maybe the weather's bad or something. So I can display that ILS. Notice that 246 goes right by that SOX intersection where you're going to be doing your missed approach. So you're pretty close to Hot Springs here. Now to get rid of this, all we have to do is tap on it and hide plate. Alright, so I want to know how to do that with Little Rock. Same way. You just tap on Little Rock. You can scroll down to approaches and select the ILS localizer. Overlays it just like that. Now if I want to make or change the opacity of that chart, I can just tap on anywhere on the chart and then drag that bar back and forth. So I'm going to leave it somewhere, about 80%, so I can kind of see through it to the sectional underneath. Now I can also tap on it, and I can go to view full screen. Now this is also georeferenced. However, traffic and other information isn't going to show up on the approach plate here. It's only going to show up on the maps view. That's why I prefer to overlay it on the maps view. We can also tap on this and we can click show annotations, and so what that means is when we go to full screen and plate view, if I have a NOTAM that's going to affect me, I can change that line there. Let's say I want to draw emphasis around that holding point right there, or I want to change my minimums from 488 to 500 and put my chicken scratch on there and go to done. Now oh, wrong one, go back to map, and if I have annotations, show annotations, those annotations that I made on the approach plate show up on the map version as well. If I don't want to show those, I can just deselect that and they'll disappear. Now that's kind of the long way to get the approach, so I'm going to hide this and show you an alternate way.